Welcome back to another episode of Trade Talk. And actually, today I'm sitting here and we're doing a little collaborative effort here with Chris. I guess we could start off with just Chris telling a little bit about his journey to the crypto space, what made him fall down the rabbit hole, so to speak. And yeah, how's it going there, Chris?
Good. It's winter here. I put on my winter tires and stuff. It was just before this meeting is what I was doing,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, it's only like it's kind of slush now, but it was like maybe 4 inches of snow.
Oh, man.
But that's pretty much what I did today. I had the day off, so
Yeah, I can't say I can relate.
it's fun.
Yeah. I I don't know if you knew, but I live in Victoria, British Columbia, and
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, like, no snow here yet. So
yeah. I'm right in the middle of Canada where all the snow is.
yeah, originally from Ontario though, and so I'm familiar with the snow. But ever since I moved here, I think last year a bit of snow fell and half the city shut down. It was hilarious.
When it's -40, they don't even shut down here. So.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so I'll tell you, I guess, kind of my story where I came from and that type of thing. And it kind of started, I'd say, so I just turned 30 this year. And so my journey kind of started, I'd say, about 5 years ago is I think the first time that I heard of like this crypto thing. And I'm in IT, so I do a lot of IT work, and everyone was asking me, what's this Bitcoin thing? And I'm like, I don't know. But they're like, you should know because you're in IT, right? And I'm like, well, so I'll take a look. So I took a look. I remember I think it's 2015, 2014. And I remember, I don't know where or how I got it, but I put like $100 in. And I remember buying, I think it was Dogecoin.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, this is a cool coin. Like it transfers fast. I got like so many of them, and I was like, oh, I'll try it for a month with $100 and see what I can make or whatever. Because everyone's talking about, make tons of money and all this stuff.
Right.
So, so yeah, I started then, and then I was like, well, I'll do it for a month and see what happens. Because I was kind of just starting, like I just started having a mindset of like an entrepreneur type thing, or like an open mindset or a growth mindset is what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started trying new things, trying to get ahead because I didn't, nobody really likes a 9 to 5 job. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Definitely.
I'll try this thing. So I did that. I did it for about a month, and I remember after a month of like studying hard, doing the thing, I remember I made $20 off that 100, so I was up to 120. But back then, I didn't really think of it as a percent. I thought of it kind of as an employee mindset, and I thought, oh, I worked for 20, 30 hours a whole month, and I only made $20.
Right. Right.
That's how I saw it, right? So, and as an investor now, I understand because so after that one month, I just gave up. I don't even know what happened to my wallet and all that $100. I bet you it's worth a lot now. But
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to it. I think it was on blockchain, or I don't know where the Dogecoin ended up. I think it ended up in like a mining pool or something. But so I just left it, and I didn't do anything about it until about 2016 at Christmas. I had some friends that were like, do you know anything about this Bitcoin thing? I was like, no, I tried it, but I didn't understand it. And they're like, well, it hit $1,000 now. I was like, what? So I was like, shit, what? Like, so then I, uh, I was like, well, I'll start in the new year because I was reading up on it and how to do it. And then I was looking into it taxed and all that stuff, right? So I was like, whatever, in 2017, I'll start January 1st and I'll throw $100 into it. And this time I had a different kind of mindset going into it. I thought of it as percentages.
Right.
Banks, they give you like 1, 2, 3% APR on savings, and I was like, this is useless.
Yeah. 3 if you're lucky.
Yeah, I think there's one bank that offered me 3 for 6 months or something like that, and then they would go down to like 0.5, and I was like, you don't even know who you're talking to. But anyway, so then January 1st, 2017, I had a friend at work he was into Bitcoin, and he kind of was my gateway, and I was like, yeah, I want to get into it. Like, what can you tell me about it? And he's kind of like, he's in it for the tech. He's one of those guys that
Right. Right.
doesn't touch it after he buys it. He just holds it forever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, you got to get set up on some exchanges. And he's like, why don't you try Kraken? Send your money to Kraken and then buy your Bitcoin. I was like, well, I could do that, or can you just like buy it for me and then I just give you the money? He's like, sure. So then I bought $100 off him, and in that one month, I think I made I think I made around the same, like 20 or 30 bucks off that 100. So I was up to 130.
Right.
And then at that moment, I looked at it as a percentage, and I was like, man, I made 30% in 30 days.
Yeah.
Like
Huge.
that's big. If I could do this over the year, like that's amazing. So I was like, well, I was considering my options because I was just starting to have like kids, and I had a house, and I was like, I need to get ahead, and what can I do to get ahead? So then I was like, well,
Right.
I could take 5 grand on my line of credit, and I was like, as long as I am above that, I think I got the line of credit at 5% or something like that. So as long as I make 5% a year, like I'm just breaking even, I don't care.
Right.
So I tried that. So I used Quadriga back in the beginning of 2017, and then I bought, I don't know, like I think ETH was around 15 or something like that Canadian. Um, you probably even check on your chart, but it doesn't really matter. But I bought like, I think it was like I think about 300 ETH, and with my 5 grand, and then I played around with that $100, and I started going to like Poloniex, and then Bittrex, all the exchanges, right?
Right.
Like, what can I get here? What can I get there, right? And then so yeah, I kept doing that, and then like as most people know, ETH took off from like $10 all the way up to like 300. And in that first month where I saw that potential, like 30% in 1 month, I was telling all my friends. They're like, "What is this like scam that you're getting me into? Is it one of those pyramid things? Like, what is it?
Right. Right.
Get rich quick, quick, right?" And I was like, "No, man, there's so much potential here. I see it, but I can't explain it." And they're like, "Oh, just tell me when you get rich, right?" So I was like, "Okay, whatever." So nobody wanted to come into this stuff with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then 6 months later, when ETH went from like $10 to 300, and I actually sold like the top of that, and I had no clue what the heck I was doing, TAYs or anything. I saw my account grow, and I was up to like 100, 150 grand, and I was like, okay, well, like this is serious money, like, but it's
Yeah.
not in my bank, but like it's serious. I was like, this is crazy. So then I was just like blown away, and then I was just like, I on Quadriga, I just went back to CAD, and I just let it sit, and I was just sitting there like for 3 days, just looking at it, and I was like, I can't believe this. This is ridiculous. And then like it just, I don't know how, if I gave off this vibe to my friends and stuff, they're like, so how's that Bitcoin thing doing? How you doing? I was like, are you serious? Do you want to know? They're like, yeah. And I was like, I made over 100 grand. They're like, what the fuck? They're like, I need in this, right? I was like, well, I can show you, I can tell you. So then I kind of made this, like, it was like a 60 or 80 page document of like all the stuff that I learned in it, like how to get in it, is it taxed, all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I was showing them like you got to worry about your risk to reward, you got to worry about risk management because your capital is king, basically, right? All that stuff, and they were just like, they were first. I think most of them were kind of upset that it happened, but they all wanted on board and they wanted to catch up to me. So then they started throwing, thousands, tens of thousands. Like I had friends throwing 10, 20,000 at the thing, but they're
Oh
buying
man.
at the top of ETH like at three. I think it was 300 or whatever, and then it dipped down to half, right? Because usually
Right.
there's a pullback.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remember them, they're all excited. They're all texting me, yeah, I bought some, I bought some. I'm like, Dad, I just sold all mine. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I just sold it. It's got to come down. So then they started panic selling, right? And then I was just like, you guys follow the guide that I made. Like,
Yeah.
and none of them really did. And then, and the end of 2017 was parabolic, right? Everything
Mm-hmm.
was gone. And everyone got so euphoric. And I was like, even I did a bit. I just started throwing like coins and money at everything, right? Like, just to test out, just to see what would happen. And yeah, the end of 2017, like I threw money at all those like high risk yield investment plans or whatever they're called.
Right.
So like all your sketchy coins and everything, I just didn't care. I just had to move the money. I was like,
Yeah.
I just need to move the coin somewhere, right? So like, yeah, I threw some into like I think there's, I can't remember some of them, but there was like BitConnect, of course, right? But I didn't do the whole like recruiting thing. I just like, it says 1% a day. I just want to know if it's true. So
Right.
I throw some in there. I didn't care because I just wrote off that money or whatever. And and then yeah, I threw it everywhere. And then 2018 is when the big crash happened, right?
Right.
So once I came down like a good portion, maybe like I don't know, 20 or 30% drop in that week or two, I just went back to CAD basically on Quadriga, and I said, okay, guys, like this is a pullback. Like something's wrong here. Like this is different than any other pullback that I've ever researched or seen.
Mm-hmm.
And all my friends just they didn't believe me. They thought it would go up forever. So none of them went back to CAD. Some even threw more money in because they thought it was a pullback.
Right.
Meanwhile, Bitcoin's crashing from 20K to like 6 on that first spike down, and
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of
Giant
them
market.
got hurt, like, and I was just sitting there, and if you go back, like that one, everyone sold on that one, and I was like, there's something, like I told you
Yeah.
guys at the top, and
Boom.
then it bounces, and they're like, oh, I feel good again, right? And then it comes to, like, so it's just watching all my all my friends' emotions. Meanwhile, I stopped trading for about 6 months, and that's when I started to actually learn TA.
Right.
So in 2018, from April until October or so, like I talked to some of the guys from Victoria that kind of know your area, like my accountant, Kyle at Metrics, and he introduced me to a bunch of guys that are now in this Discord. And I haven't met any of them in person, but they all heard of me and they all know me, and I'm a trader, right? So they try and follow some stuff too. But
Yeah. Totally.
yeah, so I learned, TA. I learned risk management. I learned risk to reward. I learned how to short because you need that in a bear market. I learned, long hand, I learned BitMEX. I learned more advanced stuff because I was in some trading groups um, that were doing pretty good still in this bear market. I'm like, how do you guys make money in this, right? So that's when I started getting introduced to trading groups, and that's when I started learning like my Guppy method, my ATR method, because I was looking for the next sign of the next bull run or the next bear run, right?
Right.
And and then, yeah, so I met some people in a trading group, and then I had another kid in there somewhere, and then I started making a trading bot. So I started doing that. I did that in 2017 as a little experiment, and it worked pretty good. So I started doing it in 2018, still doing it in 2019. Just starting to finish up the first version of it to get some testers and stuff on it so that it can make orders and that type of thing.
Yeah. I hope
But
I can. I hope I can try that thing out. You were talking about it in the
yeah,
Discord there. It'd be
so
awesome.
yeah, like the idea is to the problem that a lot of people have is they can't set it and forget it. Like they want to buy here, stop loss here, and sell here, but then your emotions come into play. And if you have like a trading bot or an assistant or something that just takes the emotions out, that's like the easiest way to trade. And then
Mhm.
also that trading bot could also calculate your risk to reward, do risk management automatically, so you don't put too much in, or you just put enough in. So
Right.
that's
Right.
that's the idea. And then 2019, I found another trading group that just opened up. It's called the Satoshi Sisters, and it's ran by Lisa Edwards and River. And those two, Lisa Edwards is actually Craig Wright's sister.
Oh yeah.
So, so yeah, they're close enough, but Lisa and Craig kind of see differently for like trading and like money and that type of thing. Craig Wright is obvious, of course, like known for claiming to be Satoshi, and with his Bitcoin Satoshi vision and all that stuff, right? And for me, I'm just a trader. I don't like. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't like one of these. Yeah, sure, might come out on top or whatever, but there's so many forks and everything. I mean, even this Bitcoin that we're looking at right now is with it trying to do SegWit and Lightning and stuff. It's getting really complicated. So we're not sure what's going to happen or anything. But I started collaborating with them, and then they kind of took me on, and so I help moderate that now, and yeah, we'll see how that goes at the end of the year if we want to keep working together or whatever. But yeah, I learned a lot from them. They're mostly Elliott Wave traders,
That's
and
awesome. So you're like fully immersed in the crypto space. Like I can't even say I'm that involved. It's very impressive, man.
yeah, like that's the thing is when I in my first year when I was like, man, look how like I can't like I was considering paying tax or not, but I was like, there's no way you can't pay tax when I'm getting these types of gains. I was like,
Right.
I don't,
Yeah.
and then it's like, if you start down that rabbit hole, it's like, how long can you do it? And then it's like, how long can you get away with it? And then after you stop, what if an exchange gets, audited or hacked, or like Quadriga, of course, right? The government basically got handed that with everyone's account info. Like it's crazy. So
Yeah. I mean, I that definitely with the adoption and the whole China news and everything. I mean, it's just gonna be taxed, right? Like they're not gonna let it slip by like that.
mm.
Unfortunately, especially if it goes mainstream, gets regulated, all that good stuff, right? So
Well, and that's the thing is that's why I want an accountant to kind of back me as well as help make me like as legal as can be is whatever he understands for legality, and that's what Kyle's really good at. And I've referred people to him because he takes all your CSVs and he merges them all together, and sometimes it's really messy, and yeah, he can make it work. And yeah, the first year I paid like like tens of thousands of dollars in taxes. All my friends are like, "Why are you paying taxes? Like, isn't that what Bitcoin's all about?" And I was like, "Well, Bitcoin's about taking back control from the banks and stuff. Like, I
Right.
still want to belong to my government. Like, I still want to belong to Canada. So it's
Yeah,
not
no
really
doubt.
against the government. It's more, I mean, the government does have its involvement in banks and the fiat currency and stuff. But I was like, I said, here's the funny thing is I pay taxes now, but because the huge loss that I took in 2018, which many people, my friends did, I claimed the losses as well, and I got the money back. Right?
Right.
Like not as much because I'm still up and above, but like a lot of people they were laughing at me when I had to pay like I don't know 30, 40 grand in taxes. Even the bank was like, "How do you owe this much money?" And I don't get along with banks very much, and I'm like, "Well, just I do all my taxes at the end of the year, and that's what I have to pay." So I paid it, right? And then at the end, the bank clerk, she was like, "So we have to ask, like, do you want to do investment with us?" And I'm like, I just laughed out of the bank. I was like, "You're talking to me about investments, so like your puny
Right.
5% a year that you draw from you."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
And they just flip it around, loan it out for like double the interest and
oh yeah, it's pretty bad sometimes. But yeah, that's yeah. My journey is basically I've been hopping around trading groups that keep dying because people just in a bear market people just leave, or like none of my friends, like I had maybe 20 friends here where I live that were in it, and none of them are here anymore.
hmm
And so I just keep floating around, and I know a lot of Canadians and stuff that are in the crypto space, and I wrote articles, I do my YouTube videos, and yeah, I help out with trading groups and just keep improving stuff and make it easier for people to get in and
Yeah,
that type of
totally.
thing.
That's
But
awesome, man. So uh so you're 30. So you've been in it 5 years, you said, eh?
well, 5 years ago I started and then I dropped it and just threw it out the window because I didn't like it. And then 2 years after that, so 2017 is when I actually got into it, and I've been in it since January 2017.
Right,
Like
right. You
just
got it.
about
You got in
three.
at the good time, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing is like everyone's like, oh, you got lucky, and I was like, well, I saw the opportunity, right? And there's like four types of luck, is what I say. There's like luck of like a lottery. There's luck like if you're gonna do something long enough, luck you're eventually gonna get lucky in it, right?
Right.
There's stuff like that, and then after I got the first bit of luck and actually learning TA and stuff, then you just be consistent. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess my journey, it's definitely not as long and glorious, I'd say. You seem to have a lot of have had a lot of success in the crypto space, and you're very well versed and blow me out of the water, honestly. But a little bit about myself. I'm 26. I got into the crypto space, say right at the top, right? Like that's me being totally honest. I think I
so you
bought my
you bought
first
that one?
little, yeah, I think I bought this one right here. Like when I first bought my first amount of Bitcoin, I was just like browsing Facebook. It was around Christmas time, and my buddy's like posting all this stuff on his Facebook, right? He's like, oh, like this altcoin or whatever it was called, Decent Bet. And it's still around, but man, did it ever crash. But
Mm,
I mean, like he's posting about it, right? He's like, oh, I bought this stuff. I made already this much, this much. I'm like, okay, well, he's like one of my good buddies. And like, I'm like, all right. So I like call him up. He's like, oh yeah, man, it's pretty sweet. I made like, I bought this thing at like 5 cents, it's like sitting at like 40 cents or 45 cents or something right now, right? And I'm like, oh, like
mm,
that's pretty sweet. So so I ask him, I'm like, oh well, like, I don't really know. I totally FOMO'd in like 100%. I'm
mm,
just like, I don't really know anything about it, like can I just like transfer you some money and you like buy it for me and like send it to my wallet, whatever. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll do that for you. So I bought the top. I swear it was around 20,000 US Bitcoin at the time, and I bought this decent bet and it just crashed. And and then I just got scared. I was just like, that was stupid. So like pretty much this whole period here from the top, like, just down to here, right? Like it just
mm,
dropped right down to 6,000. I'm just like, oh, what the fuck did I do, right? It's just like, got really like bummed out and stuff like that.
mm,
I started seeing these bounces and stuff like that, right? And then my buddy's like, oh well, like you could sell off the D bet, and you can there's this like margin trading platform, BitMEX. I'm like, oh cool, like what's that all about? And he's like, oh yeah, you can like leverage your money, this and that, right? So it's like you get more gains. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a pretty good deal. So whatever I had left of that initial $1,000 that I invested, threw it into margin trading. And as you could expect, at first he's like, yeah, like don't go high leverage. So I didn't, right? I did like 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 10, right? And I'm like making a little bit of money and made a little bit of money, but then, got greedy, went for the 25x, went for the 50x, boom.
Mm.
That's it. Liquidated, lost that whole
Uh,
investment right there. So,
yeah.
but ever since then, I guess, I always say, and I've said it on like previous podcasts, is I'm glad I at least got into it, right? Now I'm
Mm.
understanding a little bit more, right around this period, from I'd say like July and on, is when I started to record the previous podcast. At first like with a buddy, and then a buddy like locally, like we have 2 mics here in the office, so we did a podcast. And then I switched over to my other buddy that initially got me into crypto. We did a podcast, as he got better with trading and I got better with trading. We were able to collaborate a bit there. And but like the market humbled me again, as I was a firm believer in like this
Yep.
$6,000 support, right? I was a firm believer in that, right? Because I'm kind of looking at it and I'm like, oh well, every time it like dips even a little bit below 6,000, um it just like rebounds, right? But
Mm.
it got tighter and tighter and tighter, and bam, it crashed. And ever since then, right around this area is when I really, really started doing some research, and try to really develop myself emotionally when it comes to trading. I'm still not perfect, obviously, and but I'm trying to get better. And yeah, then that's kind of my journey. I'm looking at like some more pronounced altcoins, as opposed to like what you'd call a shit coin or whatever. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just trying to develop myself as a trader, really try to keep my emotions out of the picture and make good trading decisions. And that's pretty much it, man. Not much to me.
Yeah, well, that's it's the longer that you're in here, the more you kind of even understand about yourself, right? Like that's what I find a lot of trading is like understanding your own emotions is like a third of trading, and the other third of trading is like actually learning some sort of strategy that's consistently profitable, or and then the last third is basically just executing and managing a trade with the right, risk management, not wrecking yourself or anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's funny watching everyone's journey, especially the people that I see in person here. That because I actually work at I won't say where I work, but I work at basically a like a in IT doing networking at basically one of the biggest kind of university type institutes here where I live. So I
Mm-hmm.
manage the whole basically province of networks. And I remember going out because there's students and stuff in the hallways. I remember going out and everyone's talking about, oh, Ripple's going to $10 and blah blah. I was like, man, it's time to sell this now. Like all these noobs out here, right? And everyone, it's just funny. Everyone's like telling everybody, and everyone's kind of listing like, I don't know if I should get in or not. And it was just really interesting watching like all my friends go through the wave of emotions, and you always see like the holders that take those waves that happened in 2018, and they don't message you when it's going down, but the moment it comes up like 10-20%, they're like, oh man, did you see Bitcoin today, like it went up 20%, and it's like, yeah, but you're down 90, like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it doesn't, they don't, I don't know if they don't really get it, or if it's just like seeing double digit greens is really good, but seeing double digit reds, I see a lot of people ignore it.
Right.
But I never, like, since I started learning like most of my TA in 2018, I don't see those double digit reds unless I see like an exchange go down or something like
Mm-hmm.
real bad. I don't do too much margin trading right now.
Right.
Mainly I'm focusing on my projects like my trading bot, and I do a little bit of trading here and there just to keep alive. Because this year actually I is like trading's emotional enough as it is, and then I got 2 kids in the mix, and then also me and my ex kind of broke up. I was married for like 5 years. Me and my ex broke up as well, so
Mm-hmm.
trying to manage those emotions meanwhile you're trading emotions, like So I just take it easy and take it relaxed, and then I just withdraw every so often and take my profits, and that's pretty much what I do.
Right on, man. That's awesome. Well, it's been working good for you so far, but why don't we go ahead and why don't we try to break down the market a bit? Do you
Sure.
think you could give some insight for sure?
Yeah, like I noticed just looking at kind of your stuff, you use more like Ichimoku and fractals and that type of thing. And
Yeah.
just show me, I guess, your trading style, and then we'll flip the charts around. I'll show you what I kind of do.
All right. Well, I don't know. I guess I kind of well, this isn't even the chart I should be looking at, but this is the one here. So what I kind of did is I went back to the monthly and I just kind of have like these levels and that I kind of mapped out just based on I guess you could say areas of a lot of price action or maybe like even candle closures like this.
Mhm.
So this one right here, it just looks like it coincided very nice. Like these two monthly closures
Yep.
coincided very nice with like this most recent top that we had, right?
Yep.
And so and then I made another kind of key level here up in the I guess just below 11,000 based on these two monthly closures. And we kind of tapped that more recently, I guess 2 months ago. And so that's what I've been kind of been doing on a longer term scale just to give me some long term targets. And then
Mhm.
I try not to it's really hard not to, but I try not to move too far down into the time frames. But also I try to analyze some candlestick patterns, also some trend lines, just maybe on longer time frames. For example, like if we were to look at this, a lot of people are screaming bull. Like I don't know if you look at the trading ideas on TradingView at all, but
Not too much. I don't.
yeah, I kind of sift through those sometimes, and yeah, I mean it seems like the general sentiment is bull, but just based on like these lower highs on the weekly and the monthly especially too.
Mm.
I mean, we're in a clear kind of bull trend, even though it might, or sorry, not a bull trend. We're in a clear bear trend, even though people are kind of leaning towards bull just because of that last push. But in conjunction with the trend lines and kind of just like a candlestick analysis, I guess I do like to use Ichimoku Cloud. Um, it doesn't look too good on the weekly right now. It's kind of in the cloud. It's giving us a red one, kind of a red Kumo cloud, if you will. But then, I mean, I feel like it works really well on the daily. I mean, you can see here, you kind of had it break through the Kumo cloud, which represents resistance, both edges, right? And then
Yep.
it kind of just took off from there. Um, so I like it as a trend-based indicator, but if I'm going to be doing any sort of shorter term trading, I do like to use kind of like trend line analysis in conjunction with your Ichimoku lines, your like Kijin
Mhm.
and your
Mhm.
Tenkin lines, whatever you want to call them, the slower moving average and the faster moving average. Like for example, you can see here, I'd be expecting a push down just based on we're kind of getting squeezed in here, but not really breaking the resistance of it, right? Like we're kind of like almost like molding to uh, what the cloud is, right? So I'd imagine like maybe we can see a push up to here, you know, and then maybe keep coming down and maybe eventually retest this zone or maybe this zone in this area, just based on previous support,
Yep.
obviously. But what would you do? You think? What do you think? Uh, where do you think price is going?
I remember looking at Ichimoku for about 3 months or so, so I kind of know most of it, but I don't really use it. But usually you want that cross before it goes through the cloud, right?
Right,
And
right.
I don't think we have that yet. The red and the blue cross, or the blues above the red.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
keep forgetting Kijun and all those, but I think it's called a TK cross is usually what it is.
Yeah, TK
But
cross.
yeah, like so if we get that, um, then maybe we could shoot through the cloud for another test at like above 10K to get that edge to edge is what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
But like looking at my stuff, I can show you my stuff after. I'm thinking it could go down again.
Well, why
Just
don't we flip over to
sure.
your screen? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so if you stop sharing here, I'll share mine.
cool.
Share mine. Okay, you see my chart?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my indicators are like the ATR and the guppy is kind of what I use. And let me start on my monthly. I don't know if you looked at some of my trading methods, but one of them is to look for like I use order blocks that I look at SFPs.
Okay.
And an SFP is basically when you get a wick above a close, kind of like what you're talking about here with this monthly. Yeah, this is monthly close here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the price I use the magnet to get that exact number. And then you see the wick that came up and wicked it. So if you wick above a previous close like that, usually you're going to retest the low in between. So to me, this looks like, you go from here to here, be the low, come back, do the SFP. You should come back to another low, basically, to come around this zone.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was thinking. This is my ideas right here. If I go to, I think weekly, these lines look better. So I was looking for this kind of line for a while, and it actually hit pretty good. Like the monthly would look a lot cleaner on this side, but you see it over here. And then I was looking for a pullback. It was like this would have been in September. I drew these two lines,
Okay.
and I was thinking of this would be my bearish kind of long-term kind of view,
Mm-hmm.
be this type of movement, or we come back up to this is what I call an order block, which is the last white candle in my case up before I move down.
Okay.
So usually what I find I use my ATR and my guppy kind of more as to get rid of like my bias or to give more of a trend type thing, which I'll show after.
Okay.
But usually I want to look for a retouch of like this move here. So this move down, you take this last candle down before it move up,
Mm-hmm.
and you draw a big green box, and it should come back and retouch it. And if it retouches it, it should take off. It shouldn't stay in it, and if it stays
Okay.
in it, it's gonna fall out. So I knew it was gonna come back, but I didn't know how it would bounce after that. So obviously it bounced, and then it took off, and now it's kind of in this middle no trade zone, is what I would say. So I highlight these green boxes in basically like a fib tool. I'll show you like how I do these. So I just take like a 1.5, a 0, and then a 1.6, and you can flip it whichever way.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at like my settings, this is kind of what it looks like: a 0, a 0.5, a 1, and a 1.6.
Okay.
So then I just make that a template, and I call that order blocks. And the 1.6 is actually my stop loss. So it's actually pre-calculated, my stop loss, and it's based on the distance that it is from these. If you think of these as my three orders and then my stop loss, that's how this works.
Okay.
So then you can draw it like this would be if you're shorting, this would be if you're longing, right?
Okay.
So I knew it was going to come down into this block, so I just highlight the block with that, and then that gives me my stop loss, right?
Okay.
So then these are your three buy orders, 1, 2, 3, and you could weight them more. You like this could be like 1 Bitcoin, 2, 4, however you want to do it, right?
Right.
And then you just have a stop loss at the orange. And the reason it's 1.6 is because I did a lot of back testing. And 1.5 usually you got wicked out like that. 1.6 usually I found was the best kind of bounce that it wouldn't wick you out. And then if you got to 1.7, it was pretty obvious it was going to crash through it anyway, right?
Right.
So that's where I kind of came up with these kind of values. And I show it on my YouTube videos as well, how to do these and everything. But so basically you just buy here, and when it came down, you have these three buy orders, your stop loss. And then usually you want to wick back up to the last kind of movement up, like this order block. So then you just draw it in the reverse. There's your stop loss. So this was a perfect long and then short. And then this is where you're kind of looking for that take profit out of the short. Is kind of how I'm seeing this.
Nice.
So that's basically how I use my order blocks.
It worked out beautifully, man.
Yeah,
That's sweet.
and you start with the weekly, and then you can go down to like a 3-day, and then you can kind of use a 3-day and get more precise and that type of thing. But I usually start at the weekly and work my way down, and then even to the daily, you can kind of see in the daily time frame, you can kind of see where it came up to in those days. So like a lot of people got stuffed out here, but it never even touched the last buy order until it did that, right?
Right.
So that's kind of, they call that, if like I've done studies in like chart patterns and candle patterns and that type of thing. This is more of like a springboard is what they call it.
Okay.
It's like a last grab of liquidity before it shoots up. So you activate all the stop losses that happened here, and then you just take off, right?
Right.
So it is looking like it is kind of forming like some sort of like bull flag out of this, but because we wicked the weekly how we did, like I'm still looking at it as kind of bearish until we get back to here and then decide from there.
Right. Okay. But then it should so like you wouldn't be activating shorts at like the bottom block there. Like so once it dips in, you'd be buying there for another long, right? And
Yep.
then your stop would be at 1.6 there.
Yeah, like this could be a trading range for like however long it needs to be, right? And if the longer it stays in these what I call them order blocks, the better chance it's going to go through. So like this stayed in here a while, so you just wait and you just let your stop loss hit if it hits, right? Like being a trader is not about winning every trade; it's just about managing your trades and looking for the best risk to reward. And this one was kind of the best risk to reward, so that's what I'm looking at. And then I also noticed that this one down here never got retouched. So usually you have um, a retouch. Let me see. I can find. So like going back in time, um, usually like a move down, you'll have a move up, and then you have a retouch back to like the previous move down, kind of like this,
Okay.
right? And that's kind of how it goes. And so basically, I put in one of my articles like what traders or what the market looks like is basically just a bunch of waves, right? Going up or going down, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking for getting in at the bottom of the waves and going up to the top of the waves, and then if you get what's called a break in market structure is what they call, is basically when your waves go like this and then they invert, right? That's
Okay.
usually when you'll see people that trade patterns will claim like a head and shoulders, right?
Okay, I see.
So like there is like I studied patterns. Patterns are basically like I kind of like if you think of it as let's say math or something like that, where it's like a cheat sheet type formula, and
Hmm.
you're looking for like the best way to like divide this by this or something, right? It's like, oh, of course it's going to be like half this plus one or something. Like people look for shortcuts in math or in whatever, right?
Hmm.
So that's what I find that chart patterns are, is just like a cheat it's just a quickly way of cheating and figuring out the market. What I found with this order blocks method is basically you'll start here and there should be, this takes off and then it should be just a wick and continue on, which continues your wave. But if you don't get that, then that's called like a breaker is what I call that.
Right.
And then basically you just invert that. So the order block that was supposed to get hit here, you just invert it, and then it turns into the opposite wave when it comes back in. That's when, right? And that's why retouches kind of happen.
And
So
your
like if we were
1.6
to
then
break,
is like your inverter, yeah?
yeah. So like, let me see if I could find. I had one. Was it on ETH? Let me see. Let's see if I had one on ETH here. So here I'll just draw one that I kind of you see. Once you get used to it, you can kind of see them. So this would be an order block. Let's reverse this like this. So you stick it at the top of this. You stick it at the bottom of that, right? So this one hit and then continued on, right? So
Okay.
this hit your stop loss, right?
Hmm.
So you have your buys here, and it completely ignored all your buys and hit the stop loss.
Right.
So then you just invert it. And in this case, it would be kind of this would be so you got wicked out on this one, your stop loss.
Hmm.
Here's your short reentry. You got one of your filled, right? And then, so if this went back to bullish, I'd expect it to whack up to 292 or whatever, right?
Okay.
And then there's also the waves inside the waves, right? So you got this one, which is your last move up. Draw it like this, right? There's your short entry, right? Here's
Nice.
your one wick, and then you take off down, and then you draw it on this one. I'm not seeing. Usually you want like a red, white, red, or like a red, or a white, red, white is what you're
Okay, I
looking
see.
for. So like this one, you'd go off of this previous one is what you're looking for. And so you'd be something like this on your long down here up to here. You start to see what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you don't short this. because you got wicked out of the long. You'd short the short would be off this bottom of this candle, right? Which is this is your short. You come down to your next long, which is down here. You long this. This is your two longs. You come back up to here. Here's your three shorts, and you didn't get stopped out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, you'd have to. This one, I think you just have to take the. You take the short to here. You long it. You lose the long, right? So you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to win every trade. But look at you short it here. So you lost this long. You won this short. You won this long. You won this short. You lost this long, and then you don't re-long after until you find another order block that comes out of this.
Nice, man. That's
So
sweet.
that's how I kind of do the order blocks, and then you kind of see them as you kind of go. But when you get that break in market structure, like you saw in this one, where you're seeing waves like going up and down, and then it inverts, and then you go down and up. That's kind of how you work that. So yeah, that's basically all I do. This is what I'm seeing on ETH. Is I just made a mess of my chart, but yeah, it's basically you just keep playing those and you just play the waves. Like I don't I don't really like I hold some coins in like a hardware wallet like a ledger, but I don't really hold long term because as you've kind of seen with back testing and my two other methods, which is my ATR and my Guppy, um, they can make more than just holding, and then it's not guaranteed. Holding is not guaranteed to make a bunch of gains, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I see on. So if I put my scripts now back to my scripts onto here, this is on a daily. The daily, if you're playing a guppy, you would have got in here. If you're playing the ATR, you would have bought this down to the line, continued up, and then you would have sold the guppy right here as well as the ATR right here on this. This is your stop loss. So you would have made this big trade if you played on a daily. And I like that's
Nice.
all color coded as well, right? It kind of makes it easier to read
Right.
and
The
see.
yellow is you're now in a bearish trend, right?
Yeah, yeah, and then the red is also bearish on the guppy, right? So this wicked on here, but if I go to a longer time frame, like this is the big kind of dip on the ATR, the guppy's turning on here, and then you see how the ATR just went to a short, and there's
Mm-hmm.
your stop loss is the line, right? So your stop loss is just this line. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're
Mm-hmm.
buying, you buy here, your stop loss, you just keep moving your stop loss up. That's the whole point of the ATR is just trail it.
Right.
You flip to a short, you start shorting. This is your stop loss for the short. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, everyone's kind of in a short, right? Because they shorted this order block here.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is where I'm kind of seeing. So people are seeing a bull flag. Right now I'm seeing more of a short in this type frame.
Right. Yeah.
And then with the ATR bands that I implemented like, I don't know, 6 months ago, I think it was, it kind of predicts based on math where your target would be, where your profit would be. So this line, you just basically draw a line out. So if
Right.
you bought in here, this is your first take profit. So any flat line, you just go
And then
like
I
this.
think you were saying in one of your other videos there that it's based on fib lines, like the math is the same or
Yeah, so like
yeah.
fib lines are just calculated math. So it's just like you go up this percent, you come down this percent, you go up this percent, and then people use fib extensions to get the other percents after.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you were to, I'm not like too great on fibs, but if I were to change this back to, I don't know if I have any defaults. So you go trend would be like this. So you'd start the trend right here, and then so you're looking for some sort of, you base it off of whichever, and then you look for the first kind of take profit, and then you kind of would take your profits as we go up, right?
Right.
So they do line up a little bit, but if you were to replay this, let's say here, so if we were to hit here, it draws it, so it does stick ahead of it. So you just keep the lines, you keep your take profits here, you keep your take profit here, and then
Mm-hmm.
you just keep taking some profit as you go up, and then you'll come to a situation where it's flat for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is where it should technically stop. If it just shoots up, it should stop here. And if you just watch, it takes off before it, but you can see how it just took it.
Wow.
So your take profit is like as accurate as could be, right?
That's
So
amazing.
you might get front run as well, which is like people just trying to sell before they get to this line. If other people are trading this line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like so, I'm still, and then your next take profit would be up here, which is kind of ridiculous. But that's where you're next looking for that big bull run, right?
Right. Right.
So
So you're
Yeah.
thinking we're gonna have a bit of a pullback before we see any sort of bullishness?
Yeah, like it's basically going to trade in this range, I think, for a bit. This is on a 3-day chart, and
Mm-hmm.
it just turned gray, which means that you are going to be starting to look for shorts. If this turns back to green, if price goes back up and to close above horizontal, if price close above 10,761, then I think we're back bullish. But other than that, like you just invert this, and this is looking. Of course, this is going to be like way down here, but like somewhere in here, there's going to be more lines, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, it's just waiting for all these to turn on the different time frames.
Easy. That's awesome,
Yeah,
man. I'm definitely gonna start using these because especially I like the order blocks, man. Those
yeah.
you know, it lines
Well,
up with candlestick patterns in a sense, and like it just seems so accurate and easy, you know?
yeah, like there's different ways of trading. There's different methods, and then those methods depend on different things. So like Elliott wave and order blocks are based on price action, which is just based on how the market reacts to certain levels, and then which is basically your support and resistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's math ones that are like fib lines, the ATR, the guppy. The guppy is just moving averages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the guppy is just a bunch of moving averages, and then when all the moving averages are at different speeds, and then when they twist, that's when it turns green and red, right?
Right, right. You got all your
So
crossovers essentially, right?
yeah, and then yeah, the ATR is just based on it always moving towards the price, and whenever it stops and then gets hit with a closed candle, it flips it over and does it the other way. So then this one only comes down. It doesn't like some people say, oh, it's cheating, it's going around things, but like it's not. It stays the line, right?
Mm-hmm. And
So
like right now, it's just hovering right kind of there.
yeah, so like this, if you want to short on a 1 hour, you put your shorts in, your stop loss is like right here, right?
Yeah.
So like it's very high. Like if you were to take a risk reward calculator, short position, you take the current price, you take this to your stop loss, and then you go to the other ATR. Like you're looking at 10 risk to reward. So you're risking basically like a percent to make 8%, right?
Right.
That's how this kind of works. Um, this does kind of look a little wicky, so it could wick you out.
It
So
could.
if you want to be safe, you could go to the next flat line or even this flat line.
Mm-hmm.
So you could enter here, which is still a good risk reward. Anything over 2 I find is good.
Right.
So
Yeah.
because it's like people like don't really know, but with risk reward and margin trading, um, this basically means you could take this trade 10 times, and then if it wins one out of the 10, it pays for the other nine. Like a lot of people don't realize that.
Yep.
Because this is like 0.86 and then 867. Like that's 10 times your money basically is what it could be. So if you win two of these 10 risk reward trades, like you're laughing basically. So
Nice, man. Makes it really
yeah,
simple. And so you've just tweaked like the lines and whatnot to you've done some of the scripting yourself, right? Like it's not all just
yeah. So like this one is the one that's public that I have out. So this one you can have test with shorts, test with longs. You can show it, like where it shows on the chart. I'm shorting here, and then you just short up to the line, that type of thing. And then you could play with these numbers, right? So you can have 3 and 5, or you can have 5 and 5, and you can checkbox this, and you can see how it changes things, right?
okay.
So you can change these numbers, and then you can just play with them, and then you could say test with longs um, for 365 or whatever. Do the strategy tester, and you can see what happens if you put in $10,000 at the start and where you'd be at now. That's kind of how
Nice.
the thing works. So you could say test with longs. So this is just longs. The white line is buying and holding.
Right.
So as long as you're above the buying and holding, you're better than, I guess, the average investor is what they call it.
Right.
So the
Nice,
average
man.
investor would be right here, but you'd be up here. And then if you add shorts, and this is how shorts are so powerful. If you put in 10,000, you'd be up 23 right now.
Crazy.
So that's kind of how that works. In this script, I published it. It's free. You can go to
Yeah,
it.
it's public and it's available.
Yeah, and then I think I even added an alerting one that sends you like an alert. Um, let's see if I have it in here. Alerting script. Yeah, I think this one I just published. It's quite new. So when you go into, we'll just take off these other ones just to clean it up. So the alerting, the thing with TradingView is you can't have a backtesting script and alerting script on at the same time. It's kind of redundant. I don't know why. So you put condition ATR, buy, sell, whatever you want, and then you could have an email or notify on your app or show pop-up, send email, or you can have it send a text message as you do. So then it just sends a text message. Hey, we flipped bullish. Hey, we flipped bearish. Done. You set that for however
Amazing.
long you need. Like look at like this, right? Hey, we
Yeah.
flipped bullish. You should buy. Okay, cool. You buy and then it just shoots up. So, but yeah, no. So the idea with the ATR and the guppy is I kind of want to do automated because it's more an easy automation.
Mm-hmm. So you're
So if
building a
it's
bot around these then?
yeah, like so the first version of the bot is basically just to assist me so I can sleep better. So I can sleep with and not worry about my stop loss and my buy and my sell and all that stuff. So that's kind of the first version, but just hang on here. Sorry, I had someone pop up on my other screen.
No, no worries.
But yeah, so the first version is just to help me trade so I can sleep and wake up in the morning to money or whatever. And then
Right.
the next version will be to yeah, to implement scripts and stuff. So that's kind of the goal.
So
And it's kind of the dream.
so personally, if you don't mind me asking, how low of a time frame do you use currently for these indicators?
Usually I stay around 1 hour. In one of my articles, I put like however long it takes you to get to a computer to like change a trade. That's probably the time frame that you should be playing on. So if you're on a 5 minute chart, you need to be like 5 minutes away from a computer. Is basically how I see it. So like if you're just like if you want to be day trading on BitMEX or whatever, like and you're sitting on a computer and you're there, yeah, you can go to 5 minutes. Not very fun, but you kind of have to tune the ATR and the guppy to that time frame.
Right.
So like if you do this, you might want to change these to be like maybe like I don't know, like a 10 multiplier, and then maybe see how it goes. So like a 10 and 10, like that,
Right.
right? So you can play with these numbers and see how you do, but like you don't really need to because you might as well just turn that off, go back to 1 hour, and call her a day. Like
Yeah, just
the idea,
chill
the
out.
yeah, like the idea with the trading bot is let that do all your work and you get to sleep or do whatever you want, right? So
Man, well, that's really amazing. I don't know what to say. I'm kind of blown away, man. It's super cool.
yeah, like it's still like lots of potential. I find like people are like, oh, I'll get in when it makes another all-time high or something, right? I'm like there's so much potential just in the same day, in the same 24 hours. Like most people like here, right? Like this is over a couple days and it's 40%, right?
Yeah, just like nothing.
But
Just
then
some
they're like,
time
oh,
change.
it's yeah, it's like going back down or they bought here and they're break even, right? So, but yeah, no, that's what it is. So
Yeah, no, and it was calling your ATR lines there. They were calling they called both this drop and this kind of run up like pretty accurately, I noticed.
yeah, like let me see. Yeah, it depends which time frame that you're on. Like the 3 day one I think you're talking about where you short this type of one.
Right.
You long it into here. But yeah, it's basically more automated and it just keeps my bias, right? Like people are like, oh, it's bullish, and I'm like, it just flipped bearish, right?
Plain and simple, easy to see.
Yeah, and it's the same with the guppy as well as red or green. What is it? So
Amazing, man. That's
yeah,
sweet.
it's fun. It's fun to do this, fun to play with the potential. And I mean, these indicators that I made, they even work in stocks or foreign exchange, that type of thing. And
Are you
it's
involved
all.
in any of that or?
I'm not right now, but I mean, being Canadian type thing, we could play with our TFSA in those. And if we, I think they changed the rules because they found people were kind of abusing it. But TFSA, you can make the money tax free, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll get there, but I'm still doing good in here, and I do like that it's like not in the bank's hands and all that stuff. So
Yeah, I know. I just had a recent fun time with the bank. They withholding money, and it's a big thing, and I can't get a hold of anyone. It's terrible.
yeah, it's not fun. It's like with my recent separation stuff, I'm in a weird spot where I need the equity out to rebuy my house to buy her out.
Hmm.
But it's funny because I can't buy my own house with the equity because then that's basically like wash trading your own equity, is what they said. But I can, if this place sells, I can buy another house for the same price. So I'm like, what? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I just don't like banks. They're always like, I have I have like a bank account with every bank just because when I was taking out money and paying taxes and moving money around, like I got warnings and stuff from like BMO. My friend got his RBC closed. Like it's just like they're like Bitcoin is gambling. We don't allow that here. I'm
Yeah, of
like, you got an
course.
ATM like in a casino. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, that's one of the things that people say this is all gambling, but it's basically it's a risky investment. It's a high moving volatile thing. It's I don't consider gambling, but
I mean,
because
there's
I
money to be made, and obviously, like you said, if you use your risk management right, then
mm,
you're twisting the odds in your favor, right? And perfect example of like the 10.0 risk to reward ratio there that you're showing. It's like, yeah, you got to lose 10 times, and right now it's been holding
yeah,
up. From what we saw, it was holding up pretty well, right?
yeah, like it's like if people think, oh, you're right 50% of the time, that's like flipping a coin, right? And I'm like, yeah, but those 50% of the times I'm right make way more than the 50% times that I'm lost, right?
Right.
So a lot of people think it's gambling, and I'm like, well, the difference between gambling and trading is when you trade, you actually get the asset, right? You get the Bitcoin, you get whatever. When you're gambling, you just throw your money on the table, and all you get is a chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I just stay here doing my thing, and people ask me how's it going. I'm like, well, it's the same as going as it is every day, right? So,
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can. I don't know. Do another video or another kind of analysis or whatever this was. I mean, there's a
yeah,
lot of strategy and indicators, and I don't know. I think it's pretty sweet what you're doing, man. And I know I'll be using it. I'll be trying to implement it on maybe some of my margin trading or my day trading or whatever, right? And see how it goes, because
mm,
maybe incorporate it with some trend lines, maybe some Ichimoku. The more confluence is the better. Although I
yep,
realize that at some point it gets a little convoluted. So yeah, we'll see, man, and hopefully we can do this on a regular basis.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, you know, some of the guys there in Victoria that I don't quite know per se, but I know them because I've talked to them for 3 years,
Yeah,
but I haven't actually met anyone out there physically. But I was out there 2 years ago, right before I met them all. But I do plan to go out to Victoria sometime and
perfect.
visit everyone and travel a bit more now that things are a bit different in my life. So
Yeah, definitely a little
um,
more free time on your hands, I guess. Eh?
yeah, it's still got the two kids and you know, with online dating and dating people, it's quite fun, but it's still different. Thought I was like, I feel so old. I was like, my dad, did online dating when he was, I don't know, 40, something like that. And I thought he was old. And then you do it yourself and you're like, man, I feel old.
Yeah,
Don't even know how to set up a profile. But
the years kind of get away from you. I
yeah.
know. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, next time I hope to show you some either like a live demo or pictures of my trading bot that I have going. It does buy orders. I'm just trying to get it to pull the open orders now and then cancel the open orders, and then it can assist me, right? I can say, you know, if I were to go back to a weekly chart or whatever, I can put the buy orders here and then just set it and forget it, and then just let the trading bot take the buy and then let the trading bot take the sell, right? That's kind of the goal.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah, and then just have it email me, hey, in the middle of the night, hey, I made you like I don't know $3,000 or something. That's the dream. So
It'd be nice something nice to wake up to, man. That's for sure.
yeah, Well, yeah, it's all about trying to make money while you sleep. So
Yep. Yep. All right, man. Well, thanks a lot for making some time to go through all your stuff. It's a nice little condensed version of what I'm sure goes a lot more in depth on your YouTube channel. Because you have a YouTube channel, right?
yeah, so yeah, basically on there when friends and stuff were like, "Well, what do you do? How do you do it? Like, I want to see it." So I basically started making like videos for them, and then I was like, "Why don't I just publish this on YouTube?" So that's what I did, and I showed my progress of my ATR, my guppy, back testing, and it's all there. People just need to, if they want to use it, they can use it. So
And then that YouTube channel is just called Crypto Canadian Chris. Yeah.
yeah, so if you go to CanadianCryptoChris.ca, it redirects you to my YouTube channels. Basically, I bought the domain because it was like cheap.
Ah, nice, nice, right on, man.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So I guess when I post this, I'll put a link to your website there so people can find your stuff. And yeah, man, thanks a lot. I don't know what else to say. This was a great conversation.
yeah, and yeah, next time I can show you maybe some more of what I do, or the trading bot, or we can go through some more coins, however many alts you want. But yeah,
Awesome, man. Right on. Sounds
cool.
great. All right. Thank you so much for everything, man.
Yeah,
All right. Have a good one.
all right, you too.